And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter, Johnson versus Pomeroy. Step forward.
25-year-old Jerron Johnson is suing the mother of his child, 22-year-old Michaela Pomeroy, for the return of money he paid for a Cadillac DeVille and its registration fees.
Mr. Johnson, you and Miss Pomeroy have a child together. How old is that child?
2 months today, Your Honor.
And this is what I gather your complaint is about. The two of you lived together for a period of time and you were both on the lease, is that right?
Yes.
I honestly don't know.
You mean you don't know whether you signed a lease?
I don't recall signing anything.
Do you have a lease?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. This is not a signed lease. She never signed a lease.
That is not the full copy of the lease, Your Honor.
Well, I can't help you if it's not a full copy of the lease.
The landlord was out of town at the time.
Don't give me the story. I don't care about the story, Mr. Johnson. I don't care why you don't have the evidence. You don't have the evidence. She said she was not on the lease. She doesn't recall. So you can take this back, please. All right, so let's deal with your car. When was the car purchased?
March 12th, 2012.
And who provided the funds for the car?
I did.
Now, was there a reason that you want to offer me, since you paid for the car and since the two of you aren't married, why you didn't put the car in your name?
I was unaware at the time that I was able to pay for the vehicle and place myself as legal owner, as the position that a bank would if you were paying notes on a car, and place someone else to register to drive the vehicle.
Why didn't you put your name on the title?
I did not put the vehicle under my name, Your Honor, because I was dealing with court issues at the time.
What court issues?
I had a number of tickets, and I was fighting a DUI, which I'm currently still fighting.
So you don't have a driver's license?
Currently, I do not.
Did you in March?
No.
So what were you doing buying a car?
I was buying a car to provide adequate space for 2 children. So she could
For
safely
who
get
to drive?
Him.
I don't want.
Okay.
Who was supposed to drive?
She was 9 months pregnant. I was to take her to the hospital. She had been in...
You can't take her to the hospital. You don't have a valid driver's license.
Well, a pregnant woman is classified as a medical emergency. I was going to take her to the hospital regardless to make sure the baby was safely delivered.
My mother could have driven me.
If you shout out again, I'm just going to give him what he wants. And right now, it doesn't look good for him.
Okay.
You see, the problem that you have is you tried to pull a scam on motor vehicles. And the scam is as follows. You are not permitted to drive a motor vehicle because you do not have a license. That's what the government says. You want to be able to drive a motor vehicle, and you don't say in your papers, I didn't have a license. You said, I couldn't put the title in my name because I had court issues. And your court issues were that you had no driver's license, so you couldn't own a car. There isn't a question in my mind that when you bought this car in March, you drove it to places other than taking her to the hospital. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, it would be.
Which means that you were doing something that was against the law. Do you understand?
I understand.
Courts don't help people who don't come to court with clean hands. That's what we call the clean hands doctrine. If you come to court and you try to get over on the government, as you did with regard to buying this car and putting it in somebody else's name, not for any other reason that the law proscribes you from being able to have it in your name, you're not coming to court with clean hands. You're saying, well, I did the wrong thing with this car, but I want you to help me anyway. Courts aren't permitted to do that. That's the law. Do you understand?
I understand that.
So what do you want me to do? Whether he gets any relief with regard to the car, I've just explained to him that he does not, because he's not coming to court with clean hands. And he tried to get over on the Department of Motor Vehicles. So I can't help him with regard to the car, and you don't have a signed lease. Now, if you had a signed lease and she moved out and she was still responsible for her part of the lease, then we would talk about what efforts both of you had made to try to replace her as a roommate of yours, because that's what it is. You have to mitigate your damages. But I don't have to get to that spot, Mr. Johnson, because you don't have a lease. And it's not my fault that you don't have a lease. You came to court without a lease. Case is dismissed. That's all. Bye-bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
While I may not have had a driver's license, I purchased the vehicle.
We lived together.
I'm not here to get the car back.
I worked up until my 9th month of pregnancy.
I was here for the money that I spent towards that.
I supported my half.
That she had no dime, no figure that she put into it.
I contributed.
She only has a driver's license because I taught her how to drive.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mahata versus Coleman. Step forward.
Tripti Murata's boyfriend, 24-year-old Xavier Coleman, for unpaid loans to pay his bills and expenses.
Ms. Murata, this is your former boyfriend. You claim you loaned him some money. You want it back.
Yes.
I don't get an answer from Mr. Coleman that I quite honestly understand, so I'm going to let him tell me what he thinks. When did you start to lend him money?
Beginning of March 23rd.
Of this year?
Of this year.
For what?
He had lost all his money in gambling, and he was having a hard time, and he needed some loan. So I gave him $500 that day.
Well, tell me about the conversation. He comes to you, he said,
He comes to me. He had borrowed my car and took me to work. He came pick me back up, and he said, I needed to borrow some money. And I said, why? He said, because he lost all his money at the gambling. And he needed some money because
he gamble?
had...
MGM Grand Casino in downtown Detroit. But she only let me borrow $500, and I gave that back to her when I got paid.
When did you give it back to her?
This was so long ago. It was the next paycheck. I gave it back to her.
She said it happened in March of 2012. That's not so long ago. Is that when it was?
Well, yeah, a few months ago, and I paid her right back as soon as I got paid.
Sorry.
You paid her back from a paycheck?
Well, I withdrawed it from my checking account.
When you got paid?
Yeah.
Where were you working?
I worked at Behavioral Health Centers of America.
And when was the next loan that you say that you made to him?
Well, I made 2 loans at the same day because he said $500 is not going to be enough. You know, I need food money. You know, I don't have a car. I need bus fare. And I said, fine. So the same day I gave him $500 again. So that's $1,000 right there.
It's not true.
It is true.
Shh. You're going to show me where you took the money out.
I have it right here.
I'd like to see it.
I have all the yellow
I'd just like to see on that date.
It's right here.
Okay, go ahead. So,
And the rest is there too. The amount that I gave him a month later is there too, because after he lost his money in gambling, he was working at a job. Then he got fired from his job, and where he was staying, the place got broken down to. Then he moved with his sister. Then when he moved in with his sister, he had lost his job, but another job had called him. So he was like, I need more money. You know, I'm going to give your money back because I got a great opportunity at this other job. So he had to go buy him a suit. He had to have more money, food money, because he didn't have nothing.
yes, sir.
My last check from BCA was $700 and something. I paid her $500 back.
No, you didn't.
And then I worked for Behavioral Health Center of Michigan. I worked there for maybe 2 months. My checks was over $800 every 2 weeks. I didn't need to borrow no money from you after that.
No, don't talk to her.
I didn't need to borrow any more money from her after that.
So is what you're saying to me, sir, the only monies that you borrowed from her were $500?
Yes, Your Honor, and I paid her back.
Okay. What about the $300 that she said she made a loan to you for a suit?
She didn't loan me that money.
Did she buy you a suit?
Yes, I did buy me a suit with my cash money, and she bought me a pair of socks, and she bought me the undershirt, the shirt that goes with the suit. I bought the suit jacket. I paid the majority for it, and she only gave me maybe $60 for the suit.
So
I promised her that I was going to give her that money back.
Is what you're saying that you did pay for some of the suit?
She bought the shirt that goes with it. I said, you don't need to. I said, I don't need you to. She said, well, you're low on money. I said, well, I'm going to get paid. I said, I'll be able to, make up for it. Then she bought it.
Did you have a credit card?
I paid.
How did you pay for the suit?
I paid off my credit card.
What kind of credit card?
I have Chase Bank.
And where did you buy the suit?
From Macy's.
So if you bought it off your credit card, it would be on your credit card statement.
Yes.
Let's get it. Because you would agree that that's a discrepant suit, correct?
Correct.
The entire suit.
Correct.
And that would be on here?
No, that's just the money that I let him out, the $300. I gave him cash. All the money that was taken out from the bank, it was all cash.
But according to your complaint, if I remember reading it correctly, he asked for $300 more. He said he needed money to buy a suit.
Yes, I gave him the $300.
Just a second. And did you shop with him for the suit? And you went shopping with him for the suit. So it would be very easy. This whole case can be resolved very quickly. So you said you paid for the suit with your credit card.
I paid for the majority of the suit with my credit
card.
Yes, and then she bought me a pair of dress socks, and she bought the white shirt to go with
But
the
on
suit.
the day you purchased the suit, that would be on your credit card.
Yeah, it should be on my statement.
On your statement, great. We can get a copy of your statement. We'll recall this case, and that way I'll know who's telling the truth and who's lying. Whoever is the liar is the loser. Isn't that easy?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
You step out. This case will be recalled. Order. Yeah, it's a recall case number 204 in the matter of Mahata versus Coleman.
Thank you.
Parties are reminded you're still under oath.
Mr. Coleman, do you have the papers from your credit card?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
Actually, it's a debit. It's a debit card.
Debit card.
Yeah. Second page. And I just got paid 3 days prior to that.
Can I say something, Your Honor? I never said he didn't pay with the credit card. I had given him the money before we went shopping. So the $300 that I gave him, he had it with him. So yes, he paid it with his credit card, but I still gave him that $300, Your Honor.
Well, I don't know whether you did or not. You should have said it before, madam.
No, I was trying to tell you.
No. He clearly paid. He clearly paid for the suit.
Yeah,
there would be no reason for you to give him.
But we
And
didn't
I
go
just got
shopping
paid.
until the 2 days later after I gave him that $300. So of course he's going to pay with his credit card if I already gave him the $300, Your Honor.
Why would I need to borrow money if I
Why are you
just
doing
got
this,
paid?
Xavier? I helped you so much, and for you to sit up.
Miss.
No, madam. Sorry. You withdrew $300 on April the 10th.
Yeah, we didn't go
Shut. The suit was purchased in Macy's on April the 9th.
But I gave him
You withdrew. I don't know what you did with the money, but you withdrew the money from your bank on April 10th. The suit was purchased a day before that, on the 9th.
But I still gave him the $300.
Goodbye. Can't help you.
I have a picture. Can you just look at a picture, please? I have a picture showing that I'm not going to give your money back while he's showing all his picture on the phone.
I'm not going to give you your money back?
Yes.
Did you take a picture of you saying I'm not going to give you your money back, sir?
No.
Yes, CD, I have it right here.
Sure,
I
I'll
always
take a look at
post
it.
everything with money. Right.
It says, I'm not giving your money back.
Quiet.
No.
You just got to click on it because
That's the picture she's talking about with you holding a lot of money.
I always
That
post pictures on my Facebook page when
Yeah.
I have money on me or whatever.
It's just not
It's
smart.
personal.
Just not smart, sir. What I indicated to you before was as follows. He said he paid for his suit. You said, no, I paid for his suit.
I gave the money for it.
No, you didn't, because you gave him the money the day after he
But
purchased
I
the
still
suit.
gave him because he said I need
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was absolutely correct. Everything was on point.
He knows he owed me that $2,100, and he knows I've been there for him, taking care of him through 6 years.
I've been through so much with that girl. In my relationship with her, off and on for 6 years.
She's taking advantage of her for 6 years.
I think that she.
Girl.
I don't know why she broke up with me.
She's just too good for him.
I still loved her, but I moved on now.
I had love for him. I was in love with him, and I was a fool.
She can't say that I didn't care about her or didn't have any feelings. It's just that I wasn't able to get in contact with her. She blocked my phone number.
I'm tired of it, and he knows he's wrong.
That's going to be karma on him.
Just be careful. Find a woman that's on the same level as me, more educated.
All ladies out there know him.
She still stay in contact with my mom and everything. I told my mom to relay the message to tell her I wish the best for her.
I'm trying to stay out of their relationship as much as possible. That's their relationship. She's not going to listen to me anyway. Like she said, she's in love.
I'm not thinking about no next relationship right now. I'm trying to focus on me.
I think that I'm doing much better not being with her.
Man, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Farias, you and the defendant have a child together, a little boy who I see is about 6 or 7 months old. And the two of you got together for a brief period of time, and it is your claim that during that time, Ms. Tamayo had no place to go. You allowed her to move in with you, and at that time she had several outstanding court fees and costs, which you paid on her behalf. According to you, she was supposed to pay you back for those fees, costs, etc. That's one part of your lawsuit. The second part of your lawsuit really has to do with what you allege is the filing of a protective order by Ms. Tamayo against you. And you say it was really based upon her trying to get a leg up in a custody case that involves your son. And you are filing for actually the malicious filing of that protective order by Ms. Tamayo. That requires a couple of questions on my part. Is there currently a protective order?
No.
Is it going to be heard at some other time, or did you withdraw it?
I withdraw that.
So you withdrew it?
Yes, I did.
Then I'm going to hear your complaint, sir. And I want you to both understand that this used to be my breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 25 years. I know all about it, Ms. Tamayo. Do you understand?
Yes.
So let's start out with, when you got pregnant, is that right?
No.
And you have other children. How many other children do you have?
2.
How old?
16 and 20.
How do you support yourself and your 2 children?
I always worked.
What kind of work were you doing when you moved in with Mr. Farias?
I wasn't working for the whole pregnancy. I was cleaning his house.
So you stopped working when you got pregnant?
Yes.
And then you moved in with Mr. Farias?
I only moved in after the baby was born.
So far correct?
No, false.
What was false about it?
She's alleging that she moved into my house when the baby was born. That's the lie.
When did she move into your house?
She moved into my house in September 2011 while she was 4 months pregnant.
Now, let's move on.
Okay.
When were the court fines that you got in trouble with? What were they about?
They were for driving with a suspended license and without a valid registration for my car.
And what was your punishment?
I went to jail for a few days, and then I had a payment plan that I was okay doing. So I was spending a lot of time in his house because I was pregnant.
Don't give me a whole story. I said, what was your punishment? Your punishment was for driving on a suspended license. You spent a few days in jail,
Yeah.
which means that it happened to you more than once.
2 days.
Yeah. And then you got fines,
Yes.
which is part of your punishment.
Right.
He's not supposed to pay your punishment.
I was making my payments.
Well, then what did he pay?
He offered to pay everything because he was being very abusive to me, physically and verbally.
Oh, just a second, Mr. Mayo. I'm going to love this. He was being very verbally and physically abusive to you, so he
Yes.
offered to pay your fines, and you said, okay, you can pay my fines. When did he pay your fines?
Somewhere in October.
And you just said to me you let him pay your fines because he had been very physically and verbally abusive to me.
No, one of those times to prove that he was sorry, one time that he physically abused me, he's like, oh, don't leave, let's work this out. I'll pay for the fines to prove
Just
you.
give me the date when he did that.
October 2011.
And when was your baby born?
February 21st.
2012.
Oh, yeah.
So after he was physically and verbally abusive to you and you let him pay your fines, you and your children moved in with him.
No.
Oh, yes, that's what you just told me.
No. Okay, yeah.
That's exactly what you just, I'm listening to you.
Or baby.
That's what you just told me.
Yeah.
Why would you move in with somebody who's physically and verbally abusive to you?
Well, because he had times where he would say that he wanted to make things right for our baby, and I love him,
Yeah, I see that you love him. In any event, they're your fines, your punishment, you pay. It would be like getting somebody to say, well, this is my punishment, I have to go to jail. But I really don't want to go to jail because, I have other things to do. I have theater tickets, I want to go to the zoo. So, Officer Byrd, I'm going to pay you. And you're going to go do my punishment for me, if you would. It's not something he would do. He's got his own theater. That's what the law says. The law says that's your punishment. You deal with it. And if somebody covers for you, you pay him. How much did you pay for her court fines?
$2,132 with 40 cents.
That's your bill. $2,130. Your costs. Now let's get to the order of protection business. The baby was born, according to you, came home right from the hospital to his house. At some point, you leave. When was the first time you left the house?
April 28.
Just
29.
4/29/2012.
Yes.
And when you left on April 29th, who did you take with you?
My baby.
Because the two of you had a fight.
I couldn't take his abuse anymore.
I asked you a question. You left because you had a fight.
Yes.
No,
Shh. She's going to tell me about the fight in April. What happened on April 28th or 29th?
Okay, I got home like around 8 o'clock.
In the morning or at night?
At night.
Where was the baby?
With me. The
You
baby
came
was
home with the
me.
baby
Yeah.
at 8 o'clock at night. Go ahead.
Well, he started complaining about me not being at home all day. And then he started carrying the baby with him and whispering to his ears horrible, horrible things that I cannot mention here to his ear. The things that I can mention is that, oh, your mom only had you to me over. She wants to get child support, but it's not your fault. And stuff like that.
So he was saying things that were inappropriate to the
but
baby.
horrible. Like, I cannot mention the other
Okay.
stuff.
That was go ahead.
So I was in tears asking him, please give me the baby. And he wouldn't give it to me. He was laughing, dancing around with the baby. And I said, please give me the baby. I cannot take this no more. I'm going to leave. So he would say, oh, yes, call the police. They cannot do anything to me. Call them, call them. He'll give me the phone. And I was in tears, asking him, give me my baby back. I need to leave because I cannot take this no more. So finally, I called 911. The police came. But they said it was a family matter. I told them, I've been abused by this person. Today he didn't hit me, but he is doing this, and I want to leave. So he would tell me, you can leave when you're leaving the baby at home. So that night, because he wouldn't give me the baby, I stayed there. The following day, I left.
You mean when he went to work?
No, he went to the store or something and I left.
You left and you took the baby with you?
Yes.
And?
Well, I told him before I left that I was going to file for custody of the baby, that he would get his rights, visitation and all, but I wanted the baby living with me because I'm the primary care for the baby. He wouldn't help me with anything around the house. Nothing. I couldn't even take a shower. He would be banging me on the door to get out of the shower for the baby. Okay, so he was never taking care of the baby. So that day, I took the baby with me.
When you took the baby with you, April 29th, where did you go?
I went to my mom's house.
When did you file for custody?
I didn't file. I only answered his petition.
So you filed for custody when, sir?
The next day, she left my house on Monday, May 1st. I filed for custody because he abandoned my home.
Just answer. When did you answer his case for custody?
Okay, what happened was we met up for him to see the baby, and he's like, do not do this. I want to be there for her baby.
Would you just answer my question? I don't need your drama.
Mm-hmm.
May 1st, he said he filed for custody. When did you answer his custody case?
When I could fill out my papers after like 2-3 weeks.
So sometime the third week in May?
Yes. After he filed for custody, he started harassing me with false texting.
Listen to me. I don't know whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. I don't live with him. I don't know. But I know the business of custody. And I know all about filing papers. Because I'm not just a pretty face that they keep up here. Now, between May 1st and the third week in May, you were living at your mother's.
No.
Where were you living?
Well, he convinced me to move
Where were you living?
with him.
When did you move back with him?
May 1st, he convinced me, he lied to me, he didn't tell me he filed for custody.
So May 1st, he filed for custody, and you moved back in with him.
Yeah.
And when were you served with the papers for custody?
I was served on May 2nd.
And you were still living with him?
Yeah, and when he gave me the papers, I was going through them. He's like, oh, I beat you to the punch. Hi, he was laughing.
So now you're living with him. You're served with the papers on May 2nd. How long do you stay with him?
Really? When I saw the papers, it was true that I didn't have a place to live. He's like, oh, you can stay here. So I decided to stay there.
But while you were staying there, you answered his papers for custody.
Yes.
And on what date did you file for a protective order?
After I moved out, he was making threats that he...
On what date did you file for a protective... What?
August 7th.
So you moved out on August the 7th?
No, I moved out of his house on...
June 25th.
June 25th.
Okay. So on June 25th, you moved out, and on August 7th, you filed for a protective order.
Yes.
On June 25th, when you moved out, did you take the baby with you?
Yes.
Did you tell him you were leaving?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you knew she was leaving?
Not the same day. When I came from work, she said as soon as her son finished school, she was going to leave. I wasn't sure exactly what day it was. I allowed her to get her stuff. I didn't want to argue with her. And she's like, here's the baby. So I spent a few minutes with them before she took off with my baby. I gave my baby a kiss goodbye. And it kind of broke my heart because really that 4-month-old baby that time.
Just give me the dates.
It was June 25th when she moved out of my house.
Fine. What happened on August 7th?
He was planning on accuse me of domestic violence. I found this paper that he needed to call the police on me and tell them that I was being violent.
So you found a paper?
Yes.
That he was going to accuse you of domestic violence?
Yeah, and he verbally told me that before that.
Just a second.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the paper.
It's a number 8. He even had a little star on it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Farias, says the mother of his son, Blanca Tamayo, owes for court fees, DMV fees, car repairs, and a false restraining order. Blanca is countersuing for the return of belongings.
Okay, so what you did was you found this paper, and what he did was write out what I need to present to the judge. A letter from myself that I'm physically, mentally, and financially stable, and I have insurance for my son through work. Her plans, that he's referring to your plans, that she's going to file for a restraining order if I don't stop the custody battle. And then he says she knows how to play the system. I need to protect myself from this ordeal. I don't trust this lady, and that she already has plans to ruin me. So you found this paper and then you moved out.
Yes.
And then you filed for a protective order.
Later, yeah.
Now you're going to explain to me and show me proof of what he did.
Okay, he was making threat to me that he was going to take the baby to his house and not let me see the baby to the court order, just like I was doing it to him.
Let me understand. So he was threatening to do to you what you did. I want you to understand that. He was threatening to take the baby to his house and let you have visitation.
No, he said I wasn't going to see the baby.
No, he said,
he told me
that not what you just told me.
No, that I wasn't going to see the baby. That's what he said. He even tried to take the baby July 28th. I agreed for a visitation. I told him, please don't take the baby. You know, you can spend time here at the park with him. Don't take it from here. So he took the baby to the car, handed the baby to his friend in the front seat, and they drove away with the baby without a car seat. And then he was making threats that I was going to regret knowing him, and because the police had to intervene for him to return the baby to me.
Well, right now there's no custody order at that time in July. Is that
so
right?
He was trying to take advantage of the custody order.
So neither one of you had the right to custody in July. Is that right?
Yeah.
I still don't understand why you filed for a protective order.
He was making threats to me because he's...
Tell me what the threats were. So far he said, I'm going to take the baby to live in my house, which is what you did. You took the baby to live in your house.
He was going to take the baby wherever he sees me by any means, and
well,
I know he's
show me
abusive.
Where he said that. You have a paper there? Show me where he...
No, he doesn't text whatever can get him in trouble. He told me that verbally.
When was your custody hearing? Date?
On August 15th.
So on August 7th, you filed for a protective order. I want to see what you wrote in the protective order. I want to see. Do you have...
Yeah, I have it here.
I would like to see what she alleged in the protective order.
I was afraid of whatever he
Oh, please, give me a break. You know, you got to play fair and square. You make a baby with somebody. You've made babies with other people before. So, you know, you made babies with somebody. They have the same rights as you do.
I never had problems with
They have the same rights as you do.
Yeah.
A father has no less rights to a child. If he wanted to take off with his son because he wasn't getting along with you and left when you went to the store with his son, you would say he kidnapped my son. He took his child, just like you took his child and moved an hour away.
Because he was being very abusive.
No, he wasn't being abusive at all. You weren't living with him.
Yes, he was.
You weren't living with him. He wasn't abusive. You weren't living with him. You left on June 25th. You may have gotten by with that act with the family court judge, not with me.
When she left my house on June 25th, she took some of my personal belongings in the garage.
So I'm not getting into that, whether she did or she didn't, but that's why you called the police. Now, when she left on June 25th, you knew she was leaving, but you didn't know exactly what date. Were you at home when she left?
Yes.
I never went back to his house after I moved out. And
he went through. I'm talking about June 25th.
He went through everything that I took. I didn't take anything that belonged to him at all. He is lying.
I came home on June 25th after work, like around 5:30, and I noticed her and her son and her son-in-law invading my garage and getting all her stuff out. So I gave her the space and time, and I allowed myself to spend quality time with my son in the living room.
So she was there with an adult male and her 16-year-old son.
Yes.
When you came home from work. How long were you there removing your things from the house? How many hours?
2 hours because I made 2 trips in my Honda Accord.
Now, he was harassing me with calls and texts. Do you have any of the texts that he was harassing you with?
But the threat he was calling me to do him private. He was going crazy saying that he was going to file a police report for me hiding our son, that my son was doing drugs and he had witnessed, and my son saw him park close to my apartment too.
Would you show me what he said to you that caused you to file for a protective order 5 days before the custody hearing?
Well, that was what he said verbally, that I was going to regret knowing him.
I agree with you, sir. You know, If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's usually a duck. How long have you known him?
10 years.
10 years. And how many protective order against him?
One.
Once. And that once happens to be 5 days before you have a custody hearing where he filed for custody against you. He filed against you. So you've known him for 10 years. He's been physically, verbally, psychologically abusive for you for 10 years. And the time you chose to file, and you say he makes abusive, threatening phone calls to me and texts to me, none of which you have to show me, is 5 days before a judge is going to hear your custody case. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was a freeloader, first of all, and she tried to take the system
I never use the system. I don't even.
to help her, but she got because she had no evidence.
I just did whatever he pressured me to do.
One, I filed child custody. She reported me to CPS the next day.
I felt I needed to get a protection.
Mainly, my whole goal is for the well-being of my son, for us to have a mutual agreement.
I just hope to give us the opportunity to work out a good parenting plan for our son.
Long as he's well off, with food and shelter, and I want to be there for him.
And you may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Vaughn, this is your son. It is your claim that while you've loaned him money in the past and given him money in the past, you made an explicit loan to him in the amount of $3,500 in order to retain an attorney to help him in a custody dispute that he had with the mother of his child. You want that money back. And your son says that that money, which he acknowledges that you gave to the lawyer on his behalf, was a gift. And you used that money in order to ensure that the paternal family would continue to have contact with your grandchild. That's your defense.
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I do basic and general farm labor work.
You have one child?
Yes.
Boy?
Yes.
And he lives with his mother?
Yes.
You and his mother married?
No.
How old is he?
He's 2.
Do your parents have any other grandchildren?
3 other grandchildren.
Do they see 3 other grandchildren? Often?
Not as often as what they do my son.
And how often do they see your son?
Well, when I was living there, it was just every time that he'd come to stay with me that he was seeing my folks as well. And now it's, I don't know, because I don't have contact with my folks.
Why?
Because of this whole case. They got all mad and everything when I moved out.
What do you think they got mad about?
Because my dad's the type that's real controlling. He told me that either I went in and got a joint savings account with him or I could get out of his house.
You mean because of the money that you owed him and the bills?
No.
Why?
Because he thought I was going out, partying it up.
Were you?
No. I was going to work and coming home.
Well, what do you think made them turn on you, Mr. Vaughn?
I don't know. I really don't, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask them. What happened, Mr. Vaughn?
We borrowed him the $3,500 for the attorney.
Loaned him.
Loaned him, borrowed.
He borrowed, you loaned.
Okay. With the agreement that it would be paid back at $150 a month.
I want to know what that conversation was.
That we would loan him the money.
How did you know he needed the money?
Because he needed a retainer for an attorney for his visitation.
Just a minute. How did you know that?
He told us.
Well, that's what I want to hear about.
I just told you.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, Mr. Vaughn. I want to know. He came to the house and he said, Jane and I aren't together anymore. I want visitation. She won't give me visitation. I have to hire a lawyer. I don't have money for a lawyer. Can I borrow some money from you to get a lawyer? That's a conversation. Now, I don't want to hear my words repeated by you. I want to hear what the conversation was between you or your wife with your son with regard to this retainer. That's what I want to hear. Now, do you understand?
Yeah, and that's what
Great.
I told you.
No, you didn't tell me anything, sir. I didn't hear about the discussion. I tried to give you an example of what I was looking for as far as a conversation was concerned, not you saying to me, I loaned him money and he said he would pay me back at $150 a month. I said, when did that happen? Where were you? What did he say to you? What did you say to him? That's what I want to hear.
Can she, maybe she can explain it better.
Okay. What was transpiring is he got papers from mother of his child, and she was going to try and go for full custody.
Just a second. He got the papers, he opened them up, or he was served with them, and said, I want to hear what the conversation was.
Well, he basically informed us as to what the paperwork said.
Okay.
That she was going for full custody.
Yes.
And we all three agreed that it wasn't right.
Fine. So you discussed the fact that you thought it wasn't right that she should have full custody.
Yes.
Great. Keep going.
Jeff wanted to be in his life, so we told him, what do you want to do in order to make this happen?
And
he said that he wanted to fight for his son.
Good. So far, perfect.
He does not have the financial means, so we lent him the money so he could get an attorney.
It's not a contract. What you've told me is not a contract. What you told me is, we'll give you the money to get a lawyer. If you want to fight it, we want to help you fight it. That's what I'm hearing. Can't help you.
No,
But when we
it was
explained
never
to
said that
him-
we would give him or help him. It was a loan.
Good.
And as long as he's
listen to me.
living in our
That's what you say. That is a conclusion. And I really spent a lot of time trying to get the facts from the both of you. You're the plaintiffs. You're the ones who have to say to me, these are the terms of the oral contract. This was the conversation I had. We were in our house. I said to him, he said to me, I've given you more of an opportunity to do that than I tell you than I would do with a lot of other people. A lot of other people. And what I'm getting from you is, like if one of my children came to me and didn't have money in that circumstance and said, I want to fight for my child, I would say, I know you don't have the means, which is what you said. I know he doesn't have the means. Here's the forum. And that's not a contract. That's what I'm hearing. Do you
But
understand?
after he went and found a lawyer, that's when we made the agreement as to what it was going to be. We didn't know what an
fine.
attorney.
Well, then let's go back. Who found the lawyer?
He did.
Where did you find the lawyer?
I had contacted a buddy that had used her before, prior.
Fine. And you went to see the lawyer?
I did.
And you had a conversation with the lawyer, told you what the retainer was going to be?
She did.
She did. Great. What did you do next?
I went home and my dad asked me what I had found out. I said, well, she says it's a $2,500 retainer. Nothing was said until my mom come home. They discussed it, I guess. I don't know. And all of a sudden they come to me and said, we'll give you the $2,500 to retain that lawyer.
Fine. Did you make them a promise to pay them back at the rate of $150 a month?
No.
You did not?
No.
Yes, he did.
When?
After he came home and we discussed the retainer cost.
No.
And he was unable to finance it himself.
We
And
asked him
that's-
what he wanted to do as far
But
as
now we're talking. You see,
as
now we're
far
having
as
a
the attorney
conversation.
fees.
No.
And
You have to understand something. There's certain things that make sense and certain things that don't. And you would not have a conversation and say, son, what do you want to do with regard to the attorney's fees? Because you know that he can't afford to pay for it himself. So you don't say to him, son, what do you want to do about the attorney's fees? You either say to him, we're going to give you the money, and here it is, or we'll give it to you, but it's a loan. I want you to understand it's a loan, and it has to be paid back.
And that's what was told to him.
Well, but that's not what you're saying to me, sir. And you want to know something, Mr. Vaughn? You may have good reason to be annoyed with him. You don't have any reason to be annoyed with me up until right now. But I'm telling you, you're trying to go someplace where you shouldn't go, which is making things up with me.
I'm not making things up.
Sir, I don't believe that you ever said to him, what do you want to do about paying the attorney's fees? I don't think you ever said those words to your son.
Yes, I did.
I don't believe it.
We had asked him how he was going to pay for it, and he said he didn't know. We didn't know if he was going to try and get a loan, and he said he didn't know. So
don't buy it. Don't buy it for 1 minute. You and your husband are actually saying two entirely different things. You understand that? You are. You and your husband are saying two entirely different things, and you really should get over it. Does he do anything different now from when he was living with you? Does he work as a farm worker?
Yes, he still is, as far as we know.
Was he a farm worker when he was living with you?
Yes.
Part-time?
Was he giving you any money for rent?
No.
He's not living with you anymore. Is he paying rent?
No.
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Well,
Yes.
he has to live someplace. He's not living with his parents, so I assume he has expenses that he didn't have when he was living with you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, where do you expect him to get $3,500 from?
Well, the same place that we had to come up with it for
Well,
him.
how did you come up with it?
We had to save. We had saved for a long time before we were able to do it, and we had it saved up.
Yeah, good. Can't help no. That's all. Goodbye. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, I hated that it had to come down to this.
There isn't one.
I mean, we're family. Family doesn't do this to family.
There's no connection no more.
They just don't.
He's my son. I'll always love him, and sometimes you have to use tough love.
You know, that my parents and I can still talk, still have good times together.
Unfortunately, tough love wasn't working in our favor this time.
But I know that's going to take time, and time may not even fix this.
According to you, on the 19th of June, 2012, you're driving your car, and according to you, he threw something at your car. There was damage to your car. You called the police. He was arrested, taken into custody. While that matter is sort of pending, you are notified outstanding for your arrest because Mr. McKisson says that on June 1st, several weeks prior to June 19th, you had either thrown something at his car or hit his car and took off. You had to hire a lawyer. Your license was revoked until you went to court. Those charges against you were dismissed in total. Now, Mr. McKisson, on the other hand, agreed to pay the $700 damage to your car. He says because he was tired of the court proceeding, wanted to get it over with.
False.
That's what you say in your answer.
I didn't say that.
Well, let's see what you said.
I was advised by my attorney to pay the $700.
Just a second.
And hers were dropped due to technicality. They weren't dismissed.
Mr. McKisson.
Yes.
If you have something that you're going to show me.
Yeah. Shh. I got plenty to show you.
I don't think you want to do that, what you're contemplating doing today here. And if you need some time to compose yourself, I'm going to let you do that if you need time to compose yourself. We understand each other?
I guess.
Well, I don't want you to guess. I want you to know. Do you need time to compose yourself? Maybe.
I'm okay.
Is that your mother?
Yes.
Great. Now, your countersuit.
I went through all the same things she did. I had to hire an attorney. I went to jail and all.
Are you high?
No, I'm not.
Are you on any prescription medication?
No.
Are you on any medication that's not prescription?
No.
Well, then what you're telling me is that you are totally in control of your actions. You think he is?
Yeah, he just needs to calm down. I think he's just very worked up about the whole case.
Okay, this is what you wrote. We went to court on November 20th and the charges against her were dismissed. The charges against me were also dropped. I agreed to pay $700 for the alleged damages to her car, even though all of her accusations against me were false. Although I had done nothing wrong, I just wanted to be finished with the whole ordeal. It was worth $700 to never have to see her again. That's what you wrote.
I did not write that.
Okay, well, Bird, would you show this to Mr. McKisson and ask him if that's his signature?
I admit to signing it, but I did not write that.
Well, then what'd you sign it for? That's what I'm giving, sir. Your answer, her complaint.
Okay.
Now, you allege that Miss Blakeney, on June 1st, committed a crime by hitting your car with either her car or an object and failed to stop, and that you made a police report with regard to that.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's right here. You ready to listen?
I'm not listening to
It's
anything.
a 911 tape.
All I'm doing is I asked you for a police report.
Well, the thing is, the police told me to go to the commissioner. I went to the commissioner, filed the charges with him. That's why they were dropped.
No, listen to me, sir. You say that somebody hit your car and that it was her. I assume since you know it was her, you took down a license plate. You took down.
I didn't know who she was, but I wrote down her license plate number, yes.
Great. Then that would be in a police report. So the question is, do you or do you not have a police report that you filed? Hey! My mouth is still moving. You've got a problem. I feel sorry for you. I do. I feel sorry for you. Thank you. Question is, do you or do you not have a police report that you filed on June the 1st?
I have a 911 tape where I called the police. Police came out to me and told me to go to the commissioner.
Don't tell me what they told you. Carefully pay attention to me. Hearsay is not admissible. You can't tell me what a police officer said to you on June 1st. Now, how old are you?
I'm 25.
You're 25. I've been in the law business for over 45 years. I've been practicing and trying criminal cases for well over 30. When someone is a crime victim and they report the matter to the police, they can get, if they ask for it, a copy of the police report that they filed. Now, the answer is you do or do not have a police report?
I guess not.
Now, what you do say you have is a 911 tape that you got from the police department?
I guess so.
Miss Blakely, good morning. I'm not dealing with him anymore. He clearly has a problem. I don't know whether he has a psychiatric problem. I don't know whether he has a drug problem. I don't know. His mother knows and he knows. But I don't deal with that kind of attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that would be mine. So now I'm going to ask you to tell me, please, what happened on June 19th.
June 19th, I was traveling to work, which was in Hanover, Maryland at the time.
Stand between
And I was traveling from Annapolis, which is about 30 minutes away from the then job, because I don't work there anymore. Basically, I noticed him following me very closely because he was on my bumper. When we got about 15 minutes into me traveling to work, he then sped up, went to the left of me, because I moved out of the left lane into the middle lane. He moved to the left. That's when I noticed him again, and I see something coming towards my window, which looks like a rock. I don't know if he carries rocks in his car, but it hit my window, and he went 3 lanes over. I'm a photographer, so I had my camera on my seat on at the time. I grabbed my camera, and I was shaking a little bit, but I actually got a good picture of him with my telephoto lens.
Who is this gentleman?
This is my significant other.
Okay. Do you have that picture?
I do.
Would you give it to him?
I have a couple blown up.
Great. Would you bring those up to me, sir, please? Thank you. Uncross your arms. Put your hands on the table.
There you go.
Great.
Is that what you want?
That's exactly what I want.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
Go ahead.
I took the picture of him. I'm surprised there was no accident because he went from the extreme left lane off of the exit and flipped me the finger, as you can see. The telephoto lens takes a wide scope of things. I blew up the pictures, but I got his tag number, his profile of his face, and his finger.
I see his number. Based upon that, you filed a police report?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the police report?
I tried to, which is on the tape.
The answer is you do not have one.
No, I don't.
Now, do you have a certificate from the court of disposition of the case he filed against you?
I do.
I'd like to see it. Tell me your name, sir.
And McKeejay Burrell.
Mr. Brown, would you stand up, please? You're going to be of assistance to me. Mr. Brown, would you hand that to me, please? So this is a certificate of disposition of your case. Everything was dismissed, no fines, no penalties. Mr. McKisson, do you have a similar certificate with regard to the case that was heard on November 20th with regard to your complaint against Ms. Blakely?
I'm sure there is, but all I have is the letter from my attorney.
I'm not interested in the letter from your certificate of disposition.
I don't have a piece of paper like that, I'm sorry.
Great. Now, can you give me the license plate number of your car?
It's 6, I believe.
Now, Mr. McKisson, now since you understand the way I run my courtroom, I'm going to come back to you again, sir. The tape that you have allegedly in there, is that tape a tape that was secured either by you or by your attorney from the police department of the 911 call that you made on June the 1st?
Yes, I believe so.
You don't have to keep bending down, man. Take it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Take it out of the machine.
Well, actually, this is a copy that they made, so this is not my original. This is something they made to format for this player.
I don't listen to formats for that.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to give you a slight amount of latitude before I go any further. When you allegedly made the call to the police that someone had hit your car and taken off, did you indicate the make, model, and license plate of the car?
Yes, I did. But I just want to let you know that I couldn't secure that tape from the morning time. This is a tape from the evening because I made more than one call. And my attorney said he could not get that tape. But yes, I did give him the make and model. I wrote it down and everything. A red Dodge Charger, and I don't remember the license plate exactly by heart, but it's something like what she said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Blakeney says fellow motorist Stephen McKisson falsely accused her of throwing an object at his car. Stephen is countersuing for car damage, false allegations, and bail.
Now, I have a certificate of disposition that she brought that indicates what the disposition of her case was. Everything was dismissed. There were no fines, no judgments. You had the capacity and you had an attorney. So certainly your attorney has this certificate of disposition.
I'm sure he does.
And you knew that you weren't coming today to go to the beach. We were going to court. And you have a counterclaim. And your counterclaim was that because she made these allegations against you, so all you have to do is get your attorney to get you your certificate of disposition from the state of Maryland. You chose not to do that. I hold that against you. Now, all I can tell you is you acknowledge in your answer that you paid for the damage to her car, which means that I know that you know that you damaged her car. And that's the only reason you paid for the damage to her car.
No, it is not.
I don't care. That's what
I'm not going to jail over false accusations, and I would have went to jail.
That's what I'm sorry that you can't get help for him.
I'm sorry,
You've probably been trying for a long time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all. Step out.
That'll work for me.
Excuse, sir.
Over with.
Back up to you.
What really happened is she's a liar. She threw something at my vehicle. She knows it.
Based on the type of driver he is, he probably has these things happening all the time.
I flicked her off because 2 weeks earlier than that, she threw something at me. I remembered who she was.
He has a rap sheet of 55 items, so I'm not surprised.
She was waving a camera at me. I flicked her off. Is it against the law? No.
I'm glad that she was able to see what type of person he was.
She has 45 years, like she said, experience.
But I thank Judge Judy for the decision that she made.
I have nothing. So what do you expect? I'm sorry I wasn't prepared.
Mr. Youngstrom, this is your mom.
Yep.
And what she is doing is she is suing you for an advance that she claims she made on your behalf to pay off a medical bill. That was some time ago. She says that you had an agreement that she would pay off the remainder of the medical bill, and when you got back on your feet and got a job, you would start paying her back. That's what she says. She also says that you caused some damage to the house at some point, which I may let her tell me about on when it happened. So she had to replace some doors in the house. When were you hospitalized, sir?
A little over a year ago.
So around February of 2012. How long were you hospitalized?
I'd say a total of 2 weeks at the most. I was in and out of the hospital.
For what?
I don't really... Mental health.
So there were mental health issues? It was...
Yep.
Okay. I want to answer my questions. I don't mind, sir.
Okay.
Was this the first period of hospitalization that you had for that, or had
Yes.
you the first time? Was it helpful?
Yeah.
Feeling better now?
Yeah.
Had no recurrences of hospitalization since then?
No.
Great. Terrific. You working now?
Yep.
Yes is the answer.
Yes.
What kind of work are you doing?
I stock shelves at a grocery store.
How long have you been doing it at this particular store?
Almost a year.
So right after you were released from the hospital?
Yeah, I got the job March 21st.
Work 5 days a week or 6?
Usually 32 to 40 hours a week.
And who are you living with?
Right now I'm living with a roommate, a friend.
You pay your rent?
Yep. $325 a month.
Do you have health insurance?
I think so.
When was the last time you lived with your mother?
October is when I moved out.
Why did you move out?
They told me I needed to find my own place to live.
Who's they?
My mom and dad.
Had you had an argument?
It was just time for me to go, I guess.
Do you have siblings?
I have 2 younger brothers.
How old?
One is 18 and one is 11.
They both still live at home?
Yep.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a stay-at-home mom.
And what about your husband?
He is unemployed at the moment.
Now, I don't understand why you're here.
Well, he had his medical issues and got charity to pay most of it, down to $1,500. I told him I would cover it until I got a job and was able to pay me back. When he moved out in October, he told me that he would not pay the remainder of the bill that he owes me because we were making him move out.
I still don't understand why you're here. As a mother, I don't understand why you're here.
I'm trying to teach him responsibility.
Let me explain something to you, madam. You have 3 children.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't work. And your husband doesn't work. He is a 24-year-old child of yours who now is living on his own, self-supporting, paying his rent, taking care of himself. So you don't have to teach him responsibility. I think that has to start in your house. I don't understand, actually, as a parent. I'm
trying to teach him responsibility about making sure his bills get paid.
He is making sure. He's 24 years old, and he's clearly had some serious issues a year ago. Serious enough so that he was in and out of a hospital over a 2-week period.
Yes, ma'am.
And he has apparently gotten himself together, held out a steady job for 1 year, pays his rent, has a roommate, dresses himself. You give him nothing. You don't give him anything, do you?
No.
That would be a no.
No.
How do you get to work?
I walk.
Who pays for your food?
Me and the state of Oregon. I'm on
So
food
you
stamps.
get some food stamps.
Yep.
You get some assistance.
Yes.
How much money do you make a week?
250 roughly after taxes, maybe 200.
Is your share of the rent $825 or is that the total
Our
rent?
total rent for the rent is $700 a month, or $650, and then I pay $325.
Oh, fine. So you have money left over to help defray your other costs. Living. Seems to be doing fine. When was the last time you worked? Give me a year.
Pardon me?
A year. Try a decade.
Let's see. It was after the birth of my youngest child. He was premature. I could not go back to work. That was...
Why? I have 4 grandchildren that were born prematurely. Their parents went back to work.
He has other disabilities as well, related to being premature.
He's 11 years old. Does he go to school full-time?
He does now, and now I am looking for work.
Was he going full-time to school when he was 6?
Kindergarten, no.
6, first grade?
First grade, yes.
Okay, well, that's been 6 years ago.
And I also have another disabled child at home as well, my 18-year-old. That is why he still lives at home.
You just told me you were looking for work.
I am looking for work now.
When was the last time your husband worked?
A year ago.
2 years ago.
2
years ago, my father
It was
was
2
working.
years ago in March, and he worked for 6 months.
So what you're telling me is what I had pretty much said before. The only person in your family that works is him. The only person that takes care of himself is him. So, again, I'm saying to you as a parent, I would say, gee, I have 2 children at home, both of whom are special needs children, if I believe you. And I have 1 child who had issues as well, but he seems to be doing okay. The last thing I would do would be to sue him. The last.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Youngstrom, so I've just told her what I think of her. Now I'm going to ask you this question. Did you ever tell your mother that when you got a job, you would start paying her back the money she paid for your medical bill? Don't equivocate. I've told her what I think about her being here, but now I'm asking you the question. Did you ever say that to her?
Yes.
And you're working?
Yes.
Could you manage to fit in your budget $10 a month?
I was actually paying her.
And
she keeps track of it all. She has all the records. I'm not even clear on how much I owe her now. Like, she's always keeping track of everything. Originally, when she paid the medical bill at first, she had all this money. She told me not to worry about it. Just as long as I would quit tripping out and ending up back in the hospital and psyching out, that she would pay it. And I said, okay. And I even went through and got...
According to you, she got a lot of money from an estate. How much money did you get? How much money did you get? You shouldn't have to
About
think
80,000. About. It was all in stocks.
That's not an answer. How much money did you get?
$214,000.
When?
17 months ago.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Mary Youngstrom says her son, James Youngstrom, owes for a loan to pay his medical bills.
So at the time she paid this $1,500, she had plenty of money. Is that right?
Yep.
And what you're saying to me is when you actually went into the hospital, she said she would cover the bill as long as you stopped using drugs. And it didn't have to stop using drugs?
Yep.
Has it happened again?
Nope, I haven't been in the hospital
Great.
since.
No. You stopped using drugs?
Yep.
You have any proof that that's not true?
No.
Case is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
It had to do with the fact that he was very upset when we asked him to move out.
You know, what
what happens, happens. I still love my mom either way, no matter what happens.
And told me that he wasn't going to pay anything back.
I overheard that she, had this money, and once she started running out, that's why she brought me on the show.
He must have been overhearing my husband and I talk.
Just because she's totally at zero now.
That's not true.
I hope we can just forget about it and move on, let me move on with my life.
Well, hopefully we can put this behind us and hopefully move on.
In the summer of 2012, did somebody trash your house?
The morning of June 15th, June 16th.
This is what I gather. You were out at some club or something with this young lady who was a good friend of yours.
Correct.
Why don't you stand up so I don't have to move my eyes? So you two ladies are out at a club. At the time, your name is?
Michelle Beck.
Michelle, this was your boyfriend?
Yes.
He wasn't there?
No.
At the club or after the club when you left, there was sort of a kerfuffle between the two of you.
Correct.
She says you were a little drunk. You were driving.
Correct.
And you weren't drunk.
I was not drunk.
And you got into it, and it became physical and nasty between two girlfriends. At some point, police were called to break up this kerfuffle. And you said, I'm not taking her home. But as a friend, you called the boyfriend, whose
Correct.
name is?
Warren.
Warren. Did you call him or did the police call him?
I called him.
And said, Warren, you better come and pick up Michelle, because I'm not taking her home because we were just in a fight. And you left. Where did she leave you?
On the side of the 50 freeway.
And you came and picked her up.
Yes.
You were in your car with several other friends that you were driving home, and you drove them home. When you got back to your house, you found that your house had been burglarized, trashed, and pretty much destroyed. The person who broke into your house, clearly at some point of either exiting or entering the house, cut themselves. So there was blood all over the place. The police were called, actually took some blood samples. Now I'd like to see the police report, because it is your claim that Warren, probably because he was angry that you left his girlfriend on the side of the freeway, trashed your house.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. Easy? Mm-hmm. We all get it? Did I leave anything out?
Not at all, man.
So while they collected blood samples at the scene, since DNA testing is very expensive, according to the detective, they opt not to take a DNA sample of the defendant in order to compare the sample that they have to the sample that they would get from the defendant.
Correct.
I have a bigger budget. So just for giggles, Warren,
Yes, ma'am.
how about you giving?
I don't mind.
Great. We'll take that over.
Okay.
And we can send it over to the crime lab in Sacramento.
Okay.
Now, you don't know exactly who broke in, but you think it was Warren. You're not his girlfriend anymore. You want to tell me what happened after Warren picked you up on the side of the freeway?
He didn't pick me up. He got dropped off. The cops were there, and they actually took us home. He was out.
Explain that to me.
He was out with a friend that night, and his friend was driving. His friend then dropped him off to where I was on the side of the freeway with the police.
So now you're both on the side of the freeway. Were you living together at the time? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the police take you home. And
my babysitter was there because I have a 2-year-old son. She consoled me as I came in the house. I was hysterical. I was barely able to communicate. She got me into bed. She crawled into bed with me. Warren sat on the bed next to us and put his gym shoes on, and I was begging and crying and asking him not to leave and asking him where he was going. He would not tell me. I continued to cry and laid on my bed and fell asleep with my babysitter, and he left, and I didn't know anything about it. I just fell asleep. That next morning, I woke up with my babysitter in my bed. I had noticed Warren was asleep on our couch. I had my babysitter take me straight to Tasha's house because she had my car keys, my cell phone, and my credit card. My car was downtown. I left with her because I had been drinking and I didn't want to drive. So I went straight to Tasha's not knowing anything had happened to her home. I show up there and her front windows were smashed in. I go inside the house and I owed her $40 from that night before, and so I had $40 to give her, and she gave me my credit.
And an apology, I assume.
Well, for the house?
No, for what happened the night before.
Maybe.
What do you mean maybe?
Well, she was super upset her house was demolished. There weren't a whole lot of words exchanged between us because she was erratic.
But what I'm gathering is that you had a physical altercation. She dropped you on the side of the road. You were hysterical crying. Were you hysterical crying because you were drunk or because you were upset?
Because I had been beaten.
By whom?
Her.
Okay, so you had been beaten by Tasha. That's what you told Warren.
I didn't tell him. He knew when he showed up. I wasn't really able to communicate. I was in hysterics crying. Like I was barely able to breathe.
Now, this 2-year-old that you have at home, who was the father of that child?
Brennan.
Not Warren?
No.
So you went over to her house after she beat you the night before to get your cell phone and your keys and to give up $40. You see the broken window. Go ahead.
I proceed into the house where there's broken glass everywhere, blood everywhere. Her bird cage is knocked over. Her mirrors in her bathroom are shattered. Her TV's on the floor, broken. I got out of there pretty quickly because she was really upset and I didn't really know what had happened.
And?
I got my stuff back from her. I went home and Warren had woken up and was standing there with a white towel that was covered in blood over his right arm.
How'd you hurt yourself, Warren?
Well, I don't know what she's talking about, but that night, you want me to tell you about the night?
Now, I want you to tell me how you hurt yourself.
Well, I don't know what she's talking about.
You mean you don't know what she's talking about? That you?
She said I had a bloody
towel
wound. Yeah, I don't know what she's talking about.
On your arm?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should ask to see his scars. They were broken over her bedroom window.
Well, we don't know that yet. We haven't gotten there yet. You mind showing me your arm?
She's probably talking about. Yeah, I don't mind.
Good.
I know what she's talking about. She's talking about a football scar that I got years ago. So.
Okay.
I nursed that wound back to health, and I took him to the hospital a week later to Kaiser off Morris in Sacramento.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, they would have a record of that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
If she took you to Kaiser to dress that wound, that wasn't a long time ago. So
no, it wasn't. It was in June. It would have been on like June 25th. So then we're
talking about the third week in June. Oh, that's easy, Mr. McGee. Without getting into issues, you can have Kaiser fax us over a list of your appointments in June of 2012.
Exactly.
Did you have any appointments with Kaiser?
Yes, he did. He went into the emergency room where I waited and I drove him.
You could check.
Great. I think we're going to do that. Okay. Step out. Stay close because they're going to need your permission to fax it over to us.
Okay.
Great. Out. You're excused. We'll call you back.
This case will be recalled. Step out.
And get that DNA sample at the same time.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. From earlier today, Latasha Cabrero says her friend's ex-boyfriend, Warren McGee, ransacked her home and destroyed her belongings. Warren is denying the charge.
That's a recall of case 436 in the matter of Cabrero versus McGee. Parties are reminded you're still under oath.
Okay. When we were last here a moment ago, you were going outside to get the records from Kaiser. Mm-hmm. Because there were no witnesses to the trashing of the plaintiff's house. Mm-hmm. Your not any longer girlfriend said that a week after this incident, which happened on June 15th or 16th, she took you to Kaiser. So what I did was ask you to get me Kaiser's records to see if you were in fact there. That way it would help me know who's telling the truth. Do you have those records?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see them, please? You were there.
Yes, ma'am. May I explain?
Yeah, it's a little late for an explanation.
It's just a big coincidence, basically. She's using a coincidence against me because of our breakup.
No, accidentally cut arm with glass 3 days ago.
That's hard to believe. I've texted.
Accidentally cut arm with glass 3 days ago. That's what it says here.
I'm a window cleaner.
Listen,
he doesn't have a job.
Warren, sometimes there are things that happen serendipitously with no logic to them. It just happens. But my experience is that when I have to balance serendipity with logic, I'm always more comfortable with the logic. So let me tell you what I have. I have these two girls that got into a big fight, and at the time you were really tight with Michelle over here. She was all kinds of hysterical when you picked her up. According to her, she was just beaten up by her best friend and left on the side of the road. That's what you found when you got there. I want you to be careful, Warren, of women's hysterics. Because the hysterics turned into non-hysterics the next day when she went over there to get her keys and to give her $40 that she had borrowed. So the hysterics left her along with the alcohol. But she got you all worked up when she crawled into bed with her babysitter. So the serendipity of the fact that somebody broke into the window, cut themselves, bled all over the place, and a couple of days later you found yourself, Kaiser, with a cut on the arm that you told them that you got from glass is a little too serendipitous for me, Warren. Now, you did take a DNA swab back there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Probably a big mistake. Because I don't know what the police are going to do in Sacramento, but if we send them the DNA swab and it matches up with yours, that not only gets you in trouble here, but that gets you in trouble in Sacramento. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's not a good thing. You have any pictures of the damage to your house?
I do. I only have photos from afterwards because during...
Well, I can sort of get an idea.
Okay. I also have black and
Too
white.
late for laceration repair. So you waited a couple of days. Shh. Michelle, when did you and Mr. McKee no longer live together?
Beginning of August.
So that you knew, as a matter of fact, that he was the one who had burglarized and trashed her house?
Yes.
In June?
Yes.
When did you tell your friend about it?
End of August, beginning of September.
Why didn't you tell her before?
I was upset with her over what happened between her and I was fearful of Warren. I was stuck in the middle of both. I was fearful because he had access to my home where my child stayed, everything of mine. And I felt slightly guilty because he had done it on my behalf. I was really stuck in a horrible
Those
spot.
are all honest answers. I accept them. Warren, you had a hissy fit in this house. This is really nothing but just destruction. What is this? What are you showing me in this sink?
It was either he tried to kick the top of it so it cracked right there, or he tried to pull off the sink and it cracked right there. You can see the crack on top of the...
And that was not there before?
No.
Is this your home?
I rent it, yes.
Are you still there?
I am still there. Only because I didn't have any money to move because I was scared to death of living there. I didn't know who did it.
Have you received any notification from the landlord about the damage?
As far as receipts?
To the sink?
No.
And what items were destroyed in the house?
The front window, my bedroom window, my TV, my...
Who fixed the windows?
My landlord. I have receipts from him.
Well, he hired someone to.
Shh. Sit. Did you pay the landlord for them?
No.
It's not your cost. Go ahead.
The cabinet door in the bathroom, and then he flipped over my bird cage. I had a huge bird cage.
I want to know what you can prove was damaged that you paid for TV.
Correct, a TV, and then I guess I was coming on behalf of my landlord because he
No,
paid,
you can't
but it
come
was
on
going to come out of
behalf of
he told me it was going to come out of my deposit if I didn't pay back the funds for what happened.
No, you didn't destroy it. He did. Mr. McGee, let me tell you what happened. She knew who went into her house. But when you burglarize somebody's house like this and trash it, you never have a safe feeling again in your house. That's not a good thing. That's not a smart thing. You got to keep your temper in check. Have you ever been arrested?
Yes.
Have you ever been in jail?
Yes, for one night.
One night. For what?
Fight.
Right. Got to find yourself a good anger management place and not let somebody else push your buttons. She pushed buttons, but it was your button, and you caused the damage. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Step out.
Please excuse me. Step out.
We just got into a physical altercation over a really dumb situation.
He just went on a rampage with anger and destroyed her home, and I wish he would have been honest and told the truth.
Her friend beat her up, jumped her with 3 other guys, and she's still her friend. I don't understand.
It was an argument over a gun.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gates versus Keppel. Step forward.
Kathleen Gates is suing her former tenant, Chris Keppel, for unpaid rent and for damages to her home.
Mr. Keppel, were any of these people here your roommates at any time?
The 2 ones on the far end there?
Okay. Miss Gates, was it a house that you rented to the defendant and these 2 people?
Yes.
How long have you owned the house?
About 15 years.
When did you rent the house to these three people?
April 14th, 2012.
And the lease was for a year?
Yes.
When did they all move out?
Chris stayed in the house till November 14th. And Josh and Kristen moved out October 17th.
So he stayed a month after they did?
Yes.
Clearly breaking the lease?
Yes.
And you're suing him for what?
Breach of contract and damages to my home.
A breach of which contract?
He signed a year's lease.
Did you sue these two people?
No.
Why not?
Well, I've always had a pretty good relationship with them, but
that's not what.
But not Chris. Chris had become very defiant with me, and I was having a very difficult time dealing with him. And Josh and Kristen notified me that they were going to have to move out because of Chris's erotic behavior, and they sent me an email letter stating this, that they did not think it was safe for their family or children to be living with Chris.
So you think that he's responsible for the entire lease? Is that what you?
I do.
But he's not. They moved out before he did.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Keppel, you moved out of the house November 14th. Did you pay rent, your share of the rent? You know that you owe that.
I do.
And what was your third of the rent?
Actually, it was half. It was
half. So your responsibility was half. That was your agreement. Is that correct?
Yes.
What was your half of the rent for November?
$11.50.
Did you pay rent in October?
Yes, I did.
Is that correct?
Yes.
When did you advise the plaintiff that you were moving?
I let her know 30 days prior to that, so October 14th.
And what reason did you give her?
Yeah, we had an issue, multiple issues building up to this point where things got really out of control. I let her know that she was unable to provide.
Do you have a copy of the letter that you sent to her?
I do.
I'd like to read it. By the way, how long did the three of you know each other before you decided to move in together?
About a decade.
10 years?
Yes.
Who's Todd?
I am.
Stand up. You're her boyfriend.
Yes,
Is that right? Stand.
Yes,
move over here. He moved out November 14th. Who fixed the house up after November 14th?
I did, Your Honor.
How long did it take you? Is not an answer.
Approximately 32 working hours.
When was it completed?
Maybe a week after they moved out or so.
After he moved out. So by November 21st.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you two live together?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you fix it up with a view towards re-renting it? It's
Yes,
a
Your
rental
Honor.
property. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did you put an ad in the paper to rent it? Did you put, listen, I ask very good questions. There's always
Your
a
Honor,
reason.
it's not my house.
You live together.
Yes.
Was there an ad put in the paper to rent the house?
She got a property manager this time.
Who put an ad in the paper to rent the house?
I did
Who put
not.
an ad in the paper to
I
rent?
did not put an ad in the paper. I contacted a management company to rent it for me.
And
it hasn't rented yet, but she has shown it.
Did you put an ad in Craigslist?
They have 100 and some different sites where it's all listed on those sites.
Who were the people, Mr. Todd, that you were interested in moving into the house? Is not an answer, Mr. Todd.
I don't have anybody that could rent it. And
No, not now. Before.
No.
There was nobody
No.
that you knew that was interested before. No. They were still there.
No.
No.
Great. You say in the letter to her, within a month of us moving in, you told me that Todd wanted us out as soon as possible so that his friend could move in. Who did he say that to?
Kathy said that to me over the phone.
She did?
She did.
Tell me about that conversation.
Well, we've just moved in, and it was her way of kind of complimenting us. She had said, there's the other people that Todd wanted to have move in, but, I got a really good vibe from you guys, and you're a family, so I really appreciate you.
Oh, well, that's puffing.
Yeah.
That's puffing. So this is nonsense. $1,150 because he didn't pay his rent in November. Keep going.
He brought 2 dogs into my home.
How many dogs do you have now?
0.
How many dogs do you have?
2.
Are the 2 dogs that are living with you now the same 2 dogs that were living with you at the plaintiff's home?
Yes.
Keep going.
The pit bull he brought in, Chris said, belonged to his cousin that was dying, and he was keeping the dog there because his cousin was ill. And this is the story I was told.
Great. What you're suing for is damage
Right.
caused by a dog.
Both dogs, yes.
Both dogs.
The walls, all the base
You're suing him. It was their dog.
The pit bull wasn't theirs.
No, I understand it, but you're not suing them at all.
I believed that they had every right to want to move because I also believed that living with Chris was not good for their family from what I had witnessed myself from dealing with him.
Great. You may be right. But how can you choose one tenant
when
you want to claim damage?
When we were renting, Chris was the main one we were talking to before we even met the others. Chris is the one that said he had one dog that was an outdoor dog with a nice dog house.
That's their dog.
He did not say it was theirs. We always thought it was Chris's.
But they just told you it's theirs.
I found that out afterwards, yes.
Are you happy to have them out of your house? Perfect. He owes you $1,150. Now, he also might owe you some damage that was caused to the house, but there was a $500 pet deposit, which you retained, I assume.
Yes.
Did they also have a security deposit?
Yes.
Did you retain that?
Yes.
How much was that?
$2,150.
He owes you $1,150. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Excuse when they step out.
Chris is a con artist.
That just got really complicated. Communication broke down.
There's a reason that he's no longer friends with a couple that he's known for 10 years.
It is strange, but, life's crazy.
He tells so many lies.
Not intentionally, not that I can think of right now.
He's a very angry person and defiant.
Not really. There was a lot of falling out going on.
They said he was a heavy smoker, and they would find lit cigarette butts outside their daughter's windows. And when we did a major cleanup in the yard, we found him everywhere also.
We just have very different family styles, very different living conditions.
I'm going with a management company so that tenants can be screened better.
I'm happy Judge Judy's cool.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Faulkner versus Duran. Step forward.
Jeanette Faulkner is suing her grandchild's maternal grandmother, Kathy Duran, for half the cost of a crib, mattress, and bedding.
How old's your son?
My son is 19.
How old is your daughter?
She is 19.
And how old is this child they made together?
3 months.
Great. And you're supposed to be the mature ones, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So this is what your lawsuit is about. You claim that the defendant, whose daughter had a baby, and who she's supporting, because the daughter lives with her, along with your grandchild, that she said if you bought the crib, you actually called her and said, would you go halfies with me on the crib? According to you, she said yes, she would go half with you on the crib as long as it wasn't more than $300. You bought the crib, you want the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't it sound ridiculous to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Faulkner says her grandchild's maternal grandmother, Kathy Duran, owes for half the cost of a crib, mattress, and bedding. Kathy is countersuing for half the cost of the baby shower.
Is your son working?
He is not working at this time.
So I assume if he's not working, he's not supporting this child that he made.
No, he hasn't, but I have. I have contributed.
Well, tell me, every week, every other week, twice a month, once a month, or every once in a while?
Whenever they've asked me.
That's not support. Where's the crib?
If they're home.
She says, I wasn't even going to mention it, but I made my daughter a baby shower, which I wouldn't have done. And plaintiff said that she would actually kick in some money for the baby shower, so I'm countersuing her for the baby shower. Also ridiculous. You have 30 seconds to tell me your story. I have other cases to do today that I'm actually more interested in. If you have two 19-year-old children who are dumb enough to make a child, it would seem to me that the last thing the two of you want to do is to fight with each other. The last thing. And I assume your son is not living home?
He is living with me.
Now he is. Prior to living with you, where was he living?
With my sister-in-law and my brother.
Is that because he was a problem?
No, it isn't.
You mean you let your teenager go live with somebody else, and then he lived with her for 2.5 months. When he was living with her for 2.5 months, did you support him?
I gave him whatever he asked me for, whatever he needed.
Not him. Her. Rent. gas, electric, food.
No,
her.
I didn't. I didn't give her anything. He wasn't even living there.
Where was he living?
He lived at my brother's house and he lived with me. He did not live at her house. He did not live in the Duran's home.
I don't believe you. You want to give me the 30 seconds that I offered you before? Or you just want to say, let's try to be good grandmas. You have a 3-month-old baby. Believe me, both these two 19-year-old idiots are going to need all the support that they're going to get. They're going to need time and money, and you're going to want to see your grandchild.
Right, and I've seen her 8 times since she's been born.
Well, you think
the
that
day
this
that
is
she
going to
was
happen?
born,
Do you think
the grandmother here told me that, don't worry, we'll be able to have you in the birthing room when she's there. I know the doctor. Do you know they both stood there right next to their daughter looking at me when the nurse said there 3 people could be in there? Do you think the grandfather stepped down and let the 2 grandmothers be in there and witness the birth of their first grandchild together? No.
Jeanette,
that
was a policy of the hospital.
Just a second.
I stood in the hallway crying, Judge Judy.
That's not my problem. That's your problem. You got to teach your son to keep his pants zipped and your daughter to keep her pants up, and then you don't find yourself in this situation. But as long as you find yourself in this situation, what you're supposed to do, first of all, if you were my mother-in-law, I wouldn't let you in the birthing room. That's just me. I didn't even want my husband in the birthing room. That were those times back then. But if you're my mother-in-law, I for sure don't want you in the birthing room. Maybe it was their daughter's wish that you not be there. I don't know. But the fact that you were upset, who cares? There's only one thing that you have to worry about, and that is you have a 3-month-old baby and 2 idiots for parents.
Right?
And I'm looking at 2 grandparents, and I'm getting the sense that, at least on one side, I haven't heard from this one yet, because she's going to tell me about a shower. You want to tell me about a shower?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
No, I don't think you do. Now, I think the 2 of you ladies want to go outside and make arrangements for you to have quality time with your grandchild, and have both grandparents spend quality time with this child, because the child needs all the love and affection they're going to get. And it doesn't start out with a lawsuit over a $300 crib.
Oh, there's more.
I don't want to hear any more. You don't want to fuel the fire.
I don't.
It's no point.
This lady is vindictive, Your Honor. She's very vindictive.
You want to give me the 30 seconds for the crib, please?
My claim is to do with a phone call that was made in November to Kathy Duran asking her, because the children told me that they didn't have a crib. She told me that she'd pay for half of the crib, and I asked her how much she wanted to pay. And I told her it said like $200, $300, and she said that was fine.
Well, what was it, 200 or 300? That's a contract. I have to know whether there's a contract. 200 is different from 300.
Well, the date of the purchase, I had called her and I let her know, because you
called her and
I had found a nice crib. The baby didn't have a dresser or anything, so I got a combination dresser, changing table, and
fine.
crib.
That's good.
And,
good. And you called her and
to let her know what the price was going to be for the total, with the bedding and the mattress. And
did you speak to her?
Her daughter was actually relaying between us.
Did you speak to her?
I did not.
That's not a contract.
Okay.
Contract you make when you speak one person to another, not through an intermediary, unless you have something in writing. Do you have anything in writing?
I do.
I'd like to see it. On November 29th, you wrote to her, hello, would you like for me to send the money with Chris? I assume that's her son. Is that right?
That is correct.
She received the mattress and the crib set yesterday. I hope Allison is happy with everything. So how much did you say you would give her?
There was never a proposal. There was never an amount.
Well, how much were you going to give to Chris? Listen to me, Miss Duran.
I will.
You said, is it all right if I give the money to Chris? What were you going to give him?
In the money that she was asking for at the time, it was not $300.
No. That's not what I'm asking you.
Okay.
What I'm asking you is, you said, would you like for me to send the money with Chris? Mm-hmm. And she said, that's fine. How much were you going to send with Chris?
$150.
Great. $150. That's what she gets. $150.
And sending any money.
Now, you want to give me your 30 seconds on the baby shower? Let's go.
Okay. We had a baby shower for my daughter.
Great.
I never was intending to share the shower with Miss Faulkner. However, she contacted my daughter and said that she would pay for
you can't tell me what she said to your daughter. That's hearsay.
Okay, so I sent her a message on Facebook letting her know everything that we had planned out for her. And she responded. I even put an amount on there. There was $15 per person. I said, if we split it, it could be $650. And she said, oh, it sounds beautiful.
That's not a contract.
After that, there was no contact at all.
That's not a contract. $15, it sounds beautiful, is not a contract. A contract says, I will pay half.
Yes.
Fine. Show me on Facebook.
Well, this is the thing, Your Honor. The don't have a message.
I can't help you then.
But I have my witness here. That's
Not interested.
We share
Not interested.
the same Facebook.
Not interested. Now, she says 300. I let you put the figure down. Would you like me to send the money with Chris? The money. Not how much would you like me to send with Chris? The money.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. Your counterclaim dismissed. That's all.
I have their...
That's out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We housed him in our house when he was kicked out of his aunt's house.
It's not true.
Never charged him rent. When we went out, when we ate.
He did stay there.
He was right in there with the rest of my kids. Never charged him a cent.
Spend the night there, but he wasn't living there.
Unfortunately, when you don't have the same values and you don't have the same...
I'm not married. I don't have a husband. She does. And I'm a single parent, and I do the best that I can.
View for the future of your children, it ends up like this.
Well, able to be together. What's going to happen when our granddaughter has her first birthday party?
That's my daughter's decision. I don't have to have communication with that type of family for this type of drama.
I mean, I believe we can. I really do.
You know, it's up to my daughter whether or not she wants them in her life, not me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brack versus Smith. Step forward.
Tricia Brack is suing her ex-boyfriend, Michael Smith Jr., for loans to buy a bed and household supplies, and cell phone cancellation fees.
Ms. Brack, you claim a series of loans to the defendant, who was a boyfriend of yours. Mr. Smith said there were never any loans. You bought him things. You were trying to help him reestablish himself. When the romance fell apart, you started to ask him for money. Would you tell me when, for the first time, you made an alleged loan to Mr. Smith?
It was back around November.
November of?
2011. We had dated for several years off and on, and we had split up. We started speaking again in October. He didn't have anywhere to stay at the time. He was staying with a friend. He didn't have an apartment, and he got a new apartment. I was there with him, but he didn't have any money to get anything to stay. He didn't have a bed or any supplies or anything. I'm a full-time student. I had gotten a large sum of money for my student loan, so I offered to help him get some move-in supplies, and he was supposed to pay me back.
No, not supposed to pay you back. That's a conclusion.
No, we discussed it, and I
want you to tell me how that came about.
Well, I said, I'll help you get some move-in supplies, you know, some basic necessity beds. So I helped him get an air mattress, and I said, if I do that, can you pay me back over a period of time? And he said yes.
Is that what happened?
That's not what happened, Your Honor. I did move into an apartment. I was struggling financially. She did offer to help me. We were in a situation where we were staying back and forth from each other. She'd come to my place, I'd come to hers. I did have an air mattress, and she did not want to sleep on the air mattress. So she had the money at the time. She said, I have the money, I can help you with this. There was no, signed agreement, no agreement saying.
No, I didn't. It doesn't have to be a signed agreement.
Well, there's no agreement verbally or anything saying. It was just, I felt that she did it because.
Don't tell me what you feel.
Gotcha.
I just want to know what was said, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Smith.
You got it. Yes, Your Honor.
What was said?
That was it. Just I don't want to sleep in a bed while I'm here, and I'm in a position to help you right now, and so I'm going to buy this.
What's next?
Well,
what's next?
The bed.
Forget the bed. We moved past the bed. You told me about the bed.
No, because I bought him a bed because the air mattress that I bought him popped, and I said,
"Move forward. Move forward."
The cell phone.
When did you get a cell phone for him?
I got him a cell phone in 2010. He was supposed to be paying for his service on the phone.
Yeah.
He started running up overages charges, and there was a termination fee.
Brack, we're really not doing this. We're not talking about phones that were purchased in 2010.
He agreed to pay me back.
Show me.
It's right here. I told him that.
No, show me. Show me.
And in the pages it says that he'll pay me back over the next year. And the last page.
Just a second. I helped you with move-in supplies, a bed, a cell phone, and a tattoo because I loved you. He says here, you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then you say, like, over what period of time? I'm serious. I'm done with this being an issue. It's not right. And he says to you in the next year, and you say, talk like talk. Talk like we're together talk, or talk like chat talk. This is a nightmare. You want money, you take me to court. If you wait until I'm saying bad stuff, then you respond to make it look good on you. It's over, Miss Brock. Say goodbye to him. That's all.
Why is that excuse you, Mr. Stefano?
He agreed to pay me back and obviously just used me.
It was a bad relationship.
Originally, we were trying to get back together and make things work.
Tried to be controlling.
I tried to help.
All parties, please step forward.
Melissa Davey is suing her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Miller, for an unpaid loan.
Mr. Miller, I think I'm going to start with you today, just because I have to kind of shake it up for myself. Otherwise, I get stale. You and Miss Davey were sort of in a relationship for a brief period of time.
Yes, Judge.
Never lived together.
No.
There came a time when you wanted a new car. Not a new car, but a better car.
Yes.
You wanted a better car because you wanted to use that car as a driver for Uber.
Yes.
And you needed a down payment.
Yes.
And according to what I've read from Miss Davey, and what you seem to acknowledge in your answer, Miss Davey loaned you $1,200.
That is correct.
Things didn't work out, which happens. You paid her back $300.
Yes.
Did not pay her back $900.
Correct.
So that would make it easy, except that you have a defense.
Correct.
And I'm going to let you tell me and the rest of the world what that defense is and show the world what a prince of a guy you are.
I hope I can do that.
You're no longer together.
Correct.
You owe her $900.
No.
Well, you just acknowledged that you paid her $3 and you owed $9 because she gave you $12.
I owed $9.
I said at that point you owed $9. You're no longer together.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misheard you then.
Okay. Well, I sympathize with that because I do a lot of mishearing myself. But what I said to you was, at the time you broke up, you owed her $900.
That is correct.
Now you're going to pick it up from there and tell me and the rest of the world what your defense is. Because I read it. I just want to hear it from you.
All right. At the time of our breakup, you are correct. I did owe Miss Davies $900 and had told her that I would continue to pay on the debt that was owed.
Okay. And what was the month and year of your breakup?
End of April, maybe?
End of May.
End of May?
May.
Okay. End of May, broke up, owing $900. And you said?
I tried to be cordial and have conversations periodically with Miss Davies, and they did not go well. And then Miss Davies had to put her...
No. You tried to have conversations with her with a view towards what?
Just to reassure her that I was going to pay her back the rest of the money.
Okay, so she would call you and say, where's my money?
No, I would send her a text and kind of chat, and then I would give her a quick call and say hello, and we would have just a little chat every now and then, just to remind her that, hey, I will pay you back the money.
That sounds so off, Mr. Miller. People don't usually call an ex-girlfriend who they owe $900 to and say, hey, by the way, I know I'm going to pay you back the money. I just need a little time. That usually comes from the other side contacting them and saying, I would like my money.
Typically, you are correct that most people, if you owe the money, you don't contact the person that is owed the money. I didn't want her to do that. I didn't want to have her come to me and be like, hey, where is my money?
Okay, so you break up the end of May. Did you give her any money in June?
I gave her one in April and one in July of $154.
So at the time that you broke up, you had only given her $150.
Correct.
Later on, she kept bothering you. You were reassuring her. And in July, you gave her another $150.
Correct.
Keep going. I still get $900. Where does it say she's forgiven your debt?
The very top one, I believe it says you won't have to pay for a thing.
No.
And that was...
No. Miller, this doesn't say she's forgiven your debt.
Melissa Davey claims her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Miller, owes for an unpaid loan.
I still get $900.
In July, she had to put her dog down. And
that was in mid-July?
I believe, yeah, about the...
July 11th.
So you'd already given her the other $150.
Yeah, and...
So she called you and said...
She sent me a message that said, hey, I'm going to do this. So I called and she's like, hey, I'd really, really like you there.
I can't, the last couple of words you just sort of muttered, sir. I don't know why you sort of muttered them. She called you and said,
I would really love to have you there. I don't want to do this alone. I would really appreciate if you would come.
okay. And did you think of that as a reasonable request?
Yes and no.
Okay. Did you agree to go?
After we talked...
No. I want you to tell me what she said and what you said.
She said that she would do anything.
No. I really want you to go. And this is on the phone. That's what you told me. This was on the phone.
Yes.
So you didn't say that she could see on the phone. She said, I'd really like you to go. And you said what?
I think that could be worked out.
Okay. I think that could be worked out.
Yes.
And then what's the next thing that was said, and by whom?
I believe she said that I would do anything to have you there. I don't want to do this alone.
Well, you told me that before. After she said, I really don't want to do this alone. I would really like you to be there with me. And you said, that could be, what did he say?
He said, okay, I think that could be worked out.
I think that could be worked out. Okay, so that's what you said. And then who said something after that?
She said that she would do
She already said she would do anything.
Yeah, she would even relieve my debt.
She said that, or did you?
She said that.
She said it?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what his answer was here. Okay. And so then you said to her, fine, I'll go with you. And you went with her, and you spent 3-4 hours there while the unfortunate business of an end of life for a beloved pet takes place. And prince that you are, you relieved yourself of the $900 that you owed her.
Yes.
Just for my own information, how long did you and Miss Davy date or have a relationship? A month, 2 months, 3 months?
4 months.
4 months. Did you get close?
Tried.
Both of you or just she?
Both.
So you tried to make it a warm, close, intimate relationship.
As best we could, yes.
And when you needed some help, she offered to help you.
Correct.
What do you think that I think of a person who understands the word close, warm, affectionate? What do you think that I think of a person who says, okay, I'll go with you to this very, very sad time? Someone who I've been close and intimate with for months, so I'm going to spend a couple of hours in the afternoon with you at this very tough time, but it's going to cost you $900, which is in effect exactly what you said, but it's going to cost you $900. Let us assume that I believe you, a reasonable ex-boyfriend who wanted to be, as you said, I didn't want her to have to come and chase me. I wanted to assure her. So a reasonable ex-boyfriend would say, sure, I'll keep you company.
In theory, yes. There were circumstances when Miss Davies and I broke up that were not the best for either of us. And it wasn't a cordial breakup. It was very rocky. At the time when she called and asked me to come, I didn't want to speak to her at all.
I would have respected that, sir. You say, this was very rocky, it was nasty, we don't really like each other anymore, or I don't like you anymore. I don't know how she feels about you, and it's really not something that I want to do. I don't want to be involved with that. I could actually understand that if it was acrimonious, as you say. What I can't understand is somebody saying, I'll go with you, but it's going to cost you $900. That's what I don't understand.
Well, she brought that up. She was the one that stated that she would relieve the debt. And I was like, okay, whatever. So
okay, Miss Davy, now it's up to you. Now I have been grilling Mr. Miller. So I have only one question to you. Do you remember the conversation when you discussed with him going with you to the vet?
Yes, I have it in text.
I'd like to see it.
Judge,
Speak not.
Okay.
Unless you have the text messages.
This is the date I called to make the vet appointment.
Sarah, can you tell me what dates these are?
Sure. If you go out, these are all Saturday, July 9th, and if you pull over, you can see the time.
Well, I'm looking at all these, and I don't see anything about her saying to you, if you come with me, I'll forgive your debt. So if you have one of those, I'll take a look at it.
The very top one. That was after a phone conversation with Miss Davis?
Just a second. Where does it say she's forgiven your debt?
The very top one, I believe it says you won't have to pay for a thing.
No.
And that was...
No. Miller, you know what I'm talking about, sir. She tells you to keep your gas receipts. So if you're coming to help her, it's not going to cost you anything out of pocket. This doesn't say she's forgiven your debt. You have family, you have siblings, parents, anything?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're going to be disappointed in you, Mr. Miller, because it's not princely activity. It was clear to me from reading the plaintiff's notes to you that at least it appeared that she was struggling more with the end of your relationship than you were. That's just what it appears. And I'm a pretty good judge of that. And you sound like an intelligent man, soulless, but yet intelligent. So if you have any emotion whatsoever, you can look at this and say, this is a lady who's sort of struggling. Let me see how I can take advantage of that. I owe her $900. And I'm going to figure out that if I do this for her and it's really important, I shouldn't have to pay her back the $900. Unprincely, Mr. Miller. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
People just sometimes don't agree.
It was very clear cut.
At the time, I was very upset with her.
I think he tried his best to just keep things cordial.
Move on and move forward.
Another wonderful relationship that's hopefully will not end up in court.
It intrigues me how men can make the jump from keep your gas receipts to you don't have to pay me your $900 debt. We read the messages and we were unclear as to what debt forgiveness in the messages. We didn't see it. He handed us the exact same text that we had read on her phone. He said, yeah, that's what that means.
I think he knew what it meant, because if you checked out his smirk when he handed me just that one piece of paper, he knew that when he said, keep your gas receipts, I don't want it to cost you anything to come with her to the vet, having nothing to do with the $900 debt. Oh, it's just amazing to me that after 27 years of doing this here, I have to do a breakdown of about 90% of the cases involve women who are giving money to boyfriends and then get left holding the bag, as opposed to the 10% of men who get caught up with situations where women are prepared to take advantage of them. But most of the time, it's women. I don't know, I think it all has to do with self-esteem, Sarah, and I think that the only way to ensure that you have that is having a way to support yourself.
Yeah.
Brooke Batiste is suing her ex-roommate, Adrian Carter, for property damage, breaking a lease, and a dog attack.
Court coming to order. All rise.
Be seated, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2080 Batiste versus Carter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Batiste, you and Miss Carter were roommates.
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when?
From October 7th to April 1st. Actually, May.
And it is your claim that Miss Carter vandalized certain property of yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Most specifically, a very expensive couch.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had an argument, and that during the course of this argument, her dog bit you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And for breaching the lease, because she left.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but it was a good thing that she left, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were happy that she left. Her dog bit you. She vandalized the sofa. You were very happy that she
left. Yeah.
You were very happy. So we're going to eliminate that breach of the lease part.
No.
Oh, yes, we're going to eliminate the breach of the lease part because you were happy that she left.
I didn't want her to live in the same situation as her, but being that the rent was so expensive, it wouldn't have been my best interest for her to leave.
It's with her to stay with her dog that bit you.
Right.
I mean, I don't want you to sound ridiculous to me, okay?
Right.
All right, let's not sound ridiculous to me. Normal person, if they were bitten by their roommate's dog, and if their roommate vandalized their property, that roommate would be happy to see them go.
But I'm not happy with the expensive rent by myself.
Well, of course, but your choice would be staying with her and her dog that bit you.
But if her name's on the lease...
Just a second. That's between her and the landlord. I just told you, I'm sticking with vandalizing and dog bite. So tell me when this dog bite took place.
It's on March 29th.
What kind of dog was it, by the way?
It was a Belgian Malinois.
What do they look like?
It looks like a German Shepherd.
Is that what you have, Miss Carter? A Belgian
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. A Belgian Malinois, like a police dog.
So it looks like a German Shepherd?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a large dog?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you moved in together, you moved in with the dog?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So tell me what happened March 29th.
Okay, so before March 29th, Adrian and I got in a petty argument. It was dumb. We made up. In the argument, she confessed to me that...
No, just a minute. You engaged in a petty argument, and then you made up.
Yes.
And the petty argument was on what date?
It was on the March 27th.
And you made up?
Yes.
Okay. On the 27th, what were you arguing about?
My dog tore up the carpet, and she sent this long paragraph, and we were just going back and forth, and we realized it was dumb, so
we decided to drop it. And that's when she confessed to...
On the 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were arguing about the dog, and then on the 27th, after you were over the argument about the dog, is that what you're telling me? Be very careful.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
She confessed that she gave the guy that I was seeing a lap dance.
And?
And I immediately cut all ties with her.
So you cut all ties with her how?
I stopped speaking to her.
Even though you were roommates?
Yes.
Okay.
After I stopped talking to her, social media posts were made.
By whom?
Adrian.
Okay. Social media posts were made. Do you have those?
No, I do not.
Do you have those?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Why don't you have them if this is your case?
They erased, but I have other things that I think you would want to see.
I'm going in order. This is a case. So don't try to creep into my mind. You've been saying your complaint a couple of days later. There were things posted on social media. And is what you're telling me that they were erased?
Right. I didn't save anything that she posted.
Oh, never mind. I don't have to see anything. Correct?
Correct.
So you didn't save anything?
No, ma'am.
Then you have no evidence of anything that happened
So
later.
I saw that she had no remorse for what she did. Then I made social media posts. Adrian was mad that I made social media posts. So the next morning, she's yelling at the top of her lungs at 10 in the morning. I wake up to see what she's yelling about. And she's just saying how I'm a... and I shouldn't have posted what I posted. And we were just arguing about the situation. And I asked, how could she do this to me? It was a very heated argument. She was yelling at the top of her lungs. I was yelling at the top of my lungs. During the argument, her dog is whoo, whoo, going crazy. And while we were arguing, we were pretty close. The dog bit me and I said, you need to get your dog. She said, no, your dog is good. And we continued to argue. The dog came to bite me again. And that's when I grabbed what was behind me, which was a paper towel holder, and I chucked it at the dog.
So the dog bit you on the arm?
Yes, ma'am. Twice.
Okay. I would like to see a medical report on that.
Okay. All right. I have a photo of the bite, the antibiotics, and then this is the report.
Would you show this to Ms. Carter, please?
Your Honor, I know she has a video of the entire incident, if you'd rather.
It's not her obligation to prove your case, as my law clerk so aptly told me in the last case. Not her obligation, it's your obligation. Okay. So, go ahead.
After her dog bit me, I immediately grabbed my dog and I go to the hospital. I filled out
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Doberman.
Where was your Doberman when this was going on?
He was in the cage and he's still a baby as well. So I went to the hospital, got treated. While I was at the hospital, Adrian called the police and she said that I attacked her dog.
Don't tell me what she said to the police unless you have a police report.
Yes, ma'am, I have a police report.
Then I'd like to see the police report. That's an official business record.
So this is the first police report for the dog bite.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so April 19th, this day, Adrian knocked on my door.
No, April 19th? We're at April 19th. I thought you moved out on April 1st.
No, she moved out on April 19th.
So is what you're saying after all this altercation, she moved out?
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed in the apartment with her dog from the 29th to April 19th?
Yes, ma'am. And I went to a friend's house the day the dog bit me, and then I went home for a week, and then that's when I came back, and this second incident happened.
So after the dog bit you, you did not go home. You took your dog and left.
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed at whose house for a week?
I stayed at a friend that lives an hour away from my current apartment.
On what date did you return?
So I stayed one night at a friend's house, and then I returned, and then I went home for a week. So
when you went, stop playing with papers.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you went home for the day, was the defendant at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any conversations with her?
No, ma'am.
Just stayed out of her way and packed a few things and left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to stay?
At home in Alabama.
With your family?
Yes, ma'am. Until things cooled down, basically.
Okay. And when did you go back?
I went back, I believe, April 17th.
And what happened when you went back on the 17th?
A few days later, April 19th, Adrian was knocking on my door at 9 a.m. in the morning saying that I need to come to the leasing office because there's a new roommate here. I told her no. And then that's when she started threatening me and calling me all these kinds of names. So I take my dog again, I go outside and I call an officer. And that's also when I called my mom and she convinced me to go up there to speak with the new roommate to see, who they
What
were.
new roommates? Just a second.
She tried to get 2 young girls to replace her on the lease.
And it was unsatisfactory.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, I have a dog bite and
yes, ma'am.
couch.
So after I said no to the 2 roommates, one didn't have a job. They looked young. I said no. I went back home. 10 minutes later, Adrian.
Home? You mean to your folks'
To our
house?
apartment.
Oh, to your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So 10 minutes later, Adrian comes in. I was in the room with my door locked. I hear Adrian yelling. I hear her throwing things. She's saying, I can't believe you did that. You really just did that. I don't care. I'm still moving out. I'm still leaving. I'm not paying rent. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't come out the room because last time it got crazy. So I just said I would let her do what she does and I will let the authorities handle it.
She did come out the room, Your Honor.
When I finally came out the room, which I have a video, and came out, she had moved the couch in front of the door so I couldn't get out of my room. And
well, how did you get out?
I jumped over it. And the trash can was flipped upside down. I have pictures of all the damage that she did to the house and videos.
Well, I'd like to see them, please. And I would like to see the damage to the couch, which is your major complaint.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the damages, and then I have a video of the entire incident right here.
Brooke Batiste claims her ex-roommate, Adrian Carter, owes for couch damage and a dog attack.
By the way, did you have any unreimbursed medical bills as a result of this dog bite? That's either a yes or a no.
No, ma'am.
When did you purchase this couch?
I purchased it the day we moved in, so it was October 7th.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,200 in total, and Adrian and I were paying on it a little bit in the beginning, but there came a time where we had to make the final payment on it, which was $1,200. When we had the argument, she didn't pay anything, so I had to pay it all by myself, and the couch is in my name.
Did the couch remain?
Yes, ma'am. The couch is at the house.
What does it look like now?
It's black, but there's it's an odor coming from the couch, and there's some stains on it.
Do you have a picture of it, what it looks like now?
No, ma'am. I just have the pictures that I gave you.
Okay, but you're still using the sofa.
The
answer
is
is
a smell. No, ma'am. I don't sit on it anymore because there's a smell.
So why don't you get rid of it out of the apartment?
I'm moving October 6th, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
But you've been using it since April.
It's just been sitting there, Your Honor. I haven't had
sitting
time.
in your apartment since April.
Yes, ma'am.
April, May.
I just haven't made the time to get rid of it because I know I'm moving soon, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
I wouldn't keep something in my house that smelled.
I work a lot, and
Would you please show this to the defendant? Want to tell me how that happened?
I did put chips and items that wasn't wet on the couch out of anger. I shouldn't have did it, but I did do it. And I didn't put liquid on it or anything. Literally,
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak.
You can
No.
get a napkin and wipe it off. But that's my couch too. Maybe I didn't pay the whole thing on it, but I've made payments on that couch, and I decided not to do that full payment that she did, which was $600, because she was irresponsible and decided to rent a couch and found out that that couch was whatever amount. I made payments on that couch, and I have proof for it.
That's okay. You had no right to even attempt to destroy it.
At all.
At all. You had no right to do that.
Right.
Because that devalued the sofa.
I agree.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm actually finished with you.
Your Honor, can we please go back over the lease portion of this?
No.
Can my mom speak about what happened?
No, I said no. When there's that kind of acrimony, I actually think that before somebody gets seriously injured, when you have 2 large dogs and 2 people with hot tempers that can do this, it's a very, very good thing that they no longer live together.
Being stuck with a rent and
Just a second. I've just answered you. This is not a back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
On the dog bite, I am awarding you $1,000. It looks as if part of it was a black and blue mark. Certainly, I can't blame the dog for trying to protect its owner, but she's supposed to have control of her dog all the time.
And she shouldn't start arguing.
This is not a tea dance. I'm not asking you anything. And I'm awarding you $1,200 for the sofa. That's $2,200. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
She just did something messed up, and I cut her off, and she didn't like it.
I literally cut her off. She's just mad that she's cut off.
She's delusional. She's delusional.
She's childish. She's irresponsible, and I was just sick of dealing with someone draining.
Just don't get roommates with your friends. Just move in by yourself.
I'm happy.
You had a question about the lease.
I did. So I agree that it was best for the acrimonious situation for them to separate and not to live there. So I understand your judgment saying it was better for you. You got the good end of the stick on that she left. However, the law, if you breach a lease, she did get stuck with a higher portion of rent because her roommate, although a negative situation that should have probably ended right when it did, she was stuck paying her half as well. So I thought you should have at least heard her claim on the breach of a lease, because then anyone could just say, oh, well, I don't like the situation and I feel like leaving would be a better thing, and stick their roommate with their portion of the rent. And that's not what the law says.
Well, that's true, except that this wasn't just a situation where parties weren't getting along. There's no question that she was nipped by the defendant's dog. Well, I wouldn't want to stay in that situation anyway.
Well, that would give her the right to maybe leave without paying her half of the rent, but that's not what happened.
It's also sort of acknowledged that the defendant brought 2 other people to take over her piece of rent. And it was in the papers, and the plaintiff did not...
She did say that she was the one that said no.
She said, I don't want those 2 people. Well, then the onus really falls on her to mitigate her damages. And she had no proof that she went forward to try to get another roommate. Between the 2 of them, they may have had an agreement, but the dispute over rent really is the defendants and the landlords. She doesn't pay her rent, and if the plaintiff pays her half of the rent, the landlord is free to go against either or both of them.
Sure, because both their names were on
in the lease.
रेक्टेंगुलर बॉडी फिगर जो होता है, इसमें आपके शोल्डर्स और जो आपकी हिप होती है ये दोनों सेम होते हैं, और जो आपकी कमर होती है वो थोड़ी सी अंदर होती है। इस बॉडी फिगर को हम रेक्टेंगुलर बॉडी फिगर कहते हैं। यहाँ पर हम शोल्डर 2 सेंटीमीटर ले रहे हैं। और जो हम कमर रेडी करेंगे वो हम 1.7 सेंटीमीटर पर रेडी करेंगे। अब हम हिप के लिए 2 सेंटीमीटर पे निशान लगाएं, बिकॉज जो रेक्टेंगुलर बॉडी शेप होती है उसमें हमारे शोल्डर और जो हिप होते हैं वो दोनों सेम होते हैं। अगर हमने शोल्डर 2 सेंटीमीटर लिए हैं तो हम हिप भी 2 सेंटीमीटर लेंगे।